Hi guys, welcome back. So we've got Scotland versus Ireland. I actually quite enjoyed the game. I know it wasn't a classic, it was, there were plenty of mistakes, but it was close, it was interesting, a lot was going on, it was quick. So Scotland 13, Ireland 22, but no bonus points for either side, which is starting to look quite significant actually. Yes, but the pure quality was lacking, but Ireland win away. Okay, after a disappointing performance last week, they come to Scotland and they win away. So I think that's pretty much the main takeaway for Ireland. They won't be happy with certain bits, but it's certainly back on track, winning again. That was the most important thing. Scotland created a lot, especially in that first half. They had loads of chances and they looked good. But you just can't keep dropping the ball, bad passes, making errors if you want to win with their game plan. So, clearly they're going to be very disappointed. Laidlaw was getting upset with the referee. I think it's just the frustration that they couldn't execute that was boiling over. So that is a disappointment. What was good for Scotland, though, is physically in the first half, they really stepped up. Their line speed was brilliant. They were making huge hits, likes of Johnny Gray, smashing guys backwards, but they couldn't keep it going. It definitely dropped off in the second half. So kind of a 50-50 on the defence there. I think you need Strauss in that team. I mentioned it before. I picked him straight away in the preview show. He adds ball carrying. He adds grunt. He did it again today. I thought the back row did well, actually. Ritchie, good work on the floor. McInally, I thought, was excellent. Really, he's like an extra back row because he played back row. He was impressive. But they just made the mistakes at the key times, like I mentioned. And that period when Ireland were defending their line at the end of the first half was brilliant. Really good defence on their own line. It's the sort of situation where Ireland themselves would probably score, Scotland didn't. So they'll be upset with that. Good defence, that set the tone, probably set up the win. Just a word on Finn Russell. He's so at ease in his own skills. His genius is scary, but he is a bit scary because he's always looking to play, which can be their downfall. Just Scotland in general just look to play a little bit too much at times. For example, the first try, Conor Murray's try, good to pounce on it, but Seymour had it covered. He didn't need to flick it into Maitland. A complete panic flick in, overplayed, could have just set it up and cleared it. So that kind of sums up Scotland's main problem at the moment. Talk about Ireland's attack. Some accusations of not enough variation in their attack. Now in their pod play, when they get in groups of 3, they do tend to just truck it up, fine. But they do have some good variations off 10. The try for Stockdale's try was just beautiful. Really clever. They actually put Amani in as first receiver, switched it back, and then Stockdale on the inside. Plus Sexton and Carbery played some really nice loops, some nice switch plays. They do have variation, but it tends to come off 10. So maybe that's something to work on, a bit more variation off 9 and in the pod of 3. Whereas on the other hand, Scotland, when they hit their pod of 3, often went out the back of the pod of 3 with a pass out the back from a forward. So that was a noticeable difference in where their variations come. Scotland going wide quite early. In fact, Ireland went wide quite early a couple of times and had some joy. So there is variation there for both of them, just slightly different. And I talked in my England video about the variations that England play, but off 9 mainly. When it gets to 10, they either go wide or they kick, basically. Anyway, the Maitland versus Kinghorn debate I had in the selection video, I was going for Kinghorn all day long, and I completely stick by that. Maitland isn't the force he was. He's not the player Kinghorn is. Kinghorn has to play. I hope Hogg's not too badly injured. That's a shame, but whoever's available, if Kinghorn's available, he has to play for me all day long. Sexton got smashed again, but he did well. Hopefully he'll be okay. He's got 2 weeks off. Doesn't have to play Italy if he doesn't need to. Another 2 weeks, so that should be fine. And it got Carbery some valuable experience. He made a big error. Slow ball, Murray slowed it up, passed it to Carbery. Slow pod with no pace on the pod, but Carbery pushes it on anyway, and they get the intercept. Good composure, good try for Johnson. But then he comes back and makes up for it completely with a bit of absolute genius. A terrible pass from a forward at 9, I think to O'Brien. Then O'Brien makes an equally, if not worse, terrible pullback pass, and Carberry has to go all the way back, clear it up, and then somehow sneak his way through 2 forwards and throw a fantastic pass off his wrong hand out to Earls to score. So just shows what he can do, and he was always dangerous, always creative. So that was a big positive. We had Aki and Farrell in the centres, did okay. I think in an ideal world, if everyone's available, you don't play that pairing. I think they were a little bit samey, but it did get Farrell some game time. He did okay. Carney looked pretty solid at full back. One mistake, but he ran back powerfully. So that's another positive. And Quinn Roux, who many were worried about, was solid. Did well, called the line out. They did well in the line out. He hit hard, he carried hard. Nothing spectacular. He won't be making an appearance if the other guys are back in, if Henderson's back in, if Burns back in. But he did his job and they won the game. Okay, Italy 15, Wales 26. This was a weird sort of game. No bonus points. But first of all, big shout out to Jim, who's given me the Wales shirt. Which one is it? Oh, there we go. The Brains one over there. Thank you very much indeed. Jim Patching from Newport. Much appreciated. And Wales came to this game wanting to play, which is cool. As a spectator, I liked it. The selection was very much a let's look towards the World Cup selection, and the way they played was a let's look towards to build our phases of play. It was a bit loose. If you wanted to beat Italy as a one-off, I don't think it was the best way to go about it, but I don't think that was the aim. And interestingly, this was backed up to me because Italy were awful to start with. Wales started well. 1, 2, 3, 4 penalties, I think, and kicked them all at goal, which is what you do in a World Cup if you just want to win the game. You know, if they were looking for a bonus point against Italy, they probably would have scrum or line out some of those. But anyway, that's what I think was going on. For Italy, really disappointing to start with, like I said. At least they got Campagnaro back at 13, who is their best player. Absolutely their best player at the moment. But their accuracy was really poor. They weren't putting enough big hits in defence, and Wales could go through quick phases too easy. That's the problem with Italy mainly, is the other teams will be able to go through their phases slightly too easily. But then Italy came back and played some good stuff at the end, like they did last time, and scored a good tries. Anyway, so the first try for Italy actually came from just a terrible kick from Adams. Goodness me, that was awful. Hopefully that's a one-off. And Wales were making lots of coordination errors in their line-out, which makes sense in some ways because they completely changed their pack. The front row was completely different. You had Ball in, had new flankers in, and it was a bit of a mess, to be honest, which is a shame. They would have practiced those and wanted better, but it does kind of explain why. And we saw Alan Wynne-Jones and some other guys on really early because cleared to sort out that mess. But it wasn't enough really to come back and get a bonus point. But anyway, Williams, again the best back, creates Adams' try, does really well. And there were some nice quick phases and skill for Italy's second try as well. That was good. It's a shame Young didn't get his try. He was the best Welsh player, I thought, and hopefully he's shown his talent. I said at the beginning of the preview show he should start or be in the 23 for Wales. I strongly believe that. But anyway, 26-15, best team won for sure, but no bonus point. But it was definitely Gatland going for a World Cup builder than the Six Nations. And if they lose the Six Nations on not getting a bonus point, I think they'll take that. Gatland always looks at the bigger picture. The big problem, I believe, is we're still no closer to seeing who's the best 10 for Wales, Biggar or Anscombe. Biggar did some good stuff, but then he kicked some balls out on the full. Anscombe came on and looked pretty decent, but it's 50-50. I just don't know. You know, Biggar's really good in the air, Anscombe's more creative, but who are they going to pick? We will see. I don't know. They're clearly going to have to pick their best 10 for England. I'd probably go Biggar, but I'm still not sure, and it is an issue. They have to sort this out. Anyway, let me know who you'd pick for 10. If you think I've read that correctly for Wales, that it was more of a World Cup builder than a Six Nations game, but the no bonus point is disappointing nonetheless. Anyway, 2 wins from 2. It's all on England. And again, don't underestimate how up for it Wales will be against England. We're going to see a completely different Wales side, and it's going to be absolutely full on. Anyway, until next time, guys, I will see you later.